Good morning. I call this meeting of the Texas Board of Veterinary Medical Examiners to order at 9:15 a.m. I apologize for the delay this morning. We've had some difficulties with connectivity. And because of that, this meeting will be recorded and posted on YouTube later when it's over. It will not be live as is our tradition. So I apologize for that, but we've had some technical difficulties here with our local infrastructure. Just to remind us that the mission of the Texas State Board of Veterinary Medical Examiners is to establish and enforce policies to ensure the best possible quality of veterinary and equine dental provider services for the people of the state of Texas. I thank you, all of you that are here today to help us with our mission. Mrs. Whitehead, could you please call the roll?
Good morning. Okay, Dr. Gola.
Here.
Dr. Kreiner.
Here.
Dr. Skaggs.
Here.
Miss Sue Allen.
Here.
Mr. Pardue.
Here.
Miss Olivier.
Here.
And I'm present, Miss Whitehead.
Thank you, Ms. Whitehead. So that has all of our board members present, and we definitely have a quorum with that. So moving on to agenda item number 2, we have in front of you board members consideration and approval of the March 6, 2024 minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes for this meeting?
Approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion about the minutes? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next on our agenda, we're going to go to public comments. I'm going to go ahead and get started with the online comments first. So Anna, if we can get those queued up. Just to remind you, if you're making public comments, this needs to be limited to 3 minutes. The board will not hear public comment or testimony regarding a pending contested case. I will shut that off if that happens. And we will start with our virtual comments. So Anna, if you could please bring up first one.
Yes, sir. Their camera's just on. Mr. and Mrs. Greify, can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. Thank you.
If you would go ahead and turn on your camera, thank you so much. You'll have 3 minutes to address the board. Please start whenever you're ready.
Okay, very good.
This is in regard to our case that we have against Dr. Sekar at Banfield. Our dog Angus went in and had 2 teeth extracted. Dr. Sekar left the roots behind, which created an abscess. In his report, he said he took radiographs afterwards and that the radiographs showed there were no roots. But when he developed the abscess, we were sent to a specialty place, a specialty veterinary hospital. As far as Banfield is concerned, their actions to me say that they find him culpable. I don't understand why the case is up for dismissal. We would just like to have it reviewed further and find out exactly what happened and who is responsible. Because if he had not left those roots behind, we would never have gone to the specialty doctor and we would not have lost our pet.
Angus was a valued member of our family. And I, as a recently retired investigator, it's difficult for me to understand that this is considered investigatively sufficient. We took our dog in for what we were informed would be routine medical care. And within 24 hours, he was dead. And when he came home, he labored and walked around and panted excessively and couldn't get comfortable. And what I'm left with after, again, this quote unquote routine medical procedure is his photo, a box of his ashes, and a shoulder shrug. That's what we've been provided as the results of this. Angus should be here right now. I should be walking him over to check the mail right now. I should be throwing the ball with him in the backyard right now. And what we're just told is, sorry. And I just, to me, that does not make sense. No one here should take their dog in for, again, what is considered a routine dental procedure, and they die. That just is, that blows my mind that there is no one at fault and there's nothing more investigatively to be discovered. Thank you.
Mr. and Mrs. Griffey, thank you for being here today. We do appreciate your comments very much. Thank you. I'm sorry for the loss of your pet.
Thank you.
That will conclude our virtual comments. I will now call up Dr. Jody Long as she is next for public comment.
Good morning, and thank you for allowing me to address the board this morning. I'm here to speak about the proposed rule on emergency billing transparency, and I'm representing the Texas Veterinary Medical Association. Currently, the TVMA's Government Relations Committee is reviewing the rule, and I expect we will be filing more substantive comments with you in the coming days. However, I wanted to speak today on some of the areas we think the rule can be improved upon. And as a reminder, last September, TVMA submitted model language and a detailed explanation for why each provision was included. This was done after many hours of analysis by and among several practicing veterinarians who provide emergency medical services. While we appreciate the concise nature of the new rule, we encourage the board to review the documents we submitted last September and consider adding some of the concepts in the new rule. For now, I'd like the board's attention to the following issues. 1, the rule was as drafted does not seem to give a treating veterinarian the opportunity to begin immediate stabilization therapeutics without first providing a cost estimate for overall treatment plan. This could potentially delay care in medical situations where there is time is of the essence to stabilize the patient. The board should consider language clarifying the veterinarian's responsibilities for providing cost estimates for immediate, life-saving care versus long-term, less emergent treatments. Number 2, the rule as drafted is silent as to the veterinarian's treatment options when they are unable to locate the owner or other caretaker of an animal if the animal's condition changes and additional life-saving measures become necessary. We encourage the board to consider including language similar to that included in subsection G of the model language TVMA submitted last year. And finally, veterinarians noted that some of their clients with established relationships would prefer to be pre-authorized and have swift and immediate care before the need arises, rather than deal with cost estimates and disclosures during an actual emergency. We encourage the board to consider clarifying that veterinarians and their clients may pre-arrange for such services within an existing VCPR. As I noted previously, we will be submitting more thorough comments once our Government Relations Committee has had a chance to review the proposal. And we look forward to working with y'all. Thanks.
Dr. Long, thank you for being here. We appreciate those comments. And
Thank you.
we'll be working together.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, pursuant to chapter 551.071 of the Texas Government Code, the meeting of the Texas Board of Veterinary Medical Examiners will now go into executive session. It is 9:23 a.m. I could ask everybody to please exit the room, and we'll come back and get you when we're ready to continue. Thank you. And we're good online, just Victoria?
Yes, I'm gonna move us to a breakout room.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Whitehead, you should get a notification on your phone asking you to join us. Just hit yes. Momentarily.
I don't have one just yet, but I'll let you know as soon as I do.
Okay.
Can I join you over there?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Even the old one? Like the original?
I didn't think so.
It's worth watching.
Okay.
It truly is. I'm very social. You're looking for your face. Yeah, I tell her.
Everyone gets it.
You're not the last one.
Yeah.
I just want to put yes.
And I'll watch.
Okay, folks, I'm going to turn this session over as we get started to
Hey,
Doug.
Dr. Rolla,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not in a breakout room.
Okay, we will wait till you get there.
Sorry, I don't know if it's on the public side or not.
Yeah, let's hold.
Okay.
I'm waiting for someone to beam me to the other room.
Anna, is the recording stopped for YouTube?
It should be, yes, sir.
It's amazing. And what about you? You getting more books?
The second one's coming out in September.
Really?
The third was about halfway done, so.
Oh, wow.
Because I've enjoyed it. Like I'll start it and then I'll get business and I'll pick it back up again because you have to really.
They hired a guy, they didn't use artificial voice. Netflix narrative, you know. They actually hired a guy.
Oh.
He doesn't sound like I'm fine as I am.
Of course not.
He doesn't have skills that I got.
Or the people, I'm sure.
He was glad it's been fun. So
Yeah.
whatever he's there, but it's one of them.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling well.
And I feel good. Get around a little better.
Wow. Gonna drop you off?
Good days, bad days.
Well, you look good, so you can tell by looking at it.
Need your eye check. Say that, I got it. You got like chicken. Hey, you go to city board and you got some food.
Maybe you're like trying to like figure out exactly how far you need to go, which I get. I just read the answer.
Good.
No.
Feel what you already.
You
Yeah,
ready?
we got 11-month-old.
We have returned from executive session at 9:58 a.m. No action was taken in executive session. So we're going to move on to our next agenda item, which is our director report. So I invite our executive director, Brittany Sharkey, to lead the section. So Brittany.
Thank you, Dr. Gola. Thank you, members of the board and public. So it is spring has sprung around the agency. We've got a lot of new exciting initiatives around. We are starting our official strategic planning process this week. This is the biennial process that allows the agency to kind of create a plan for the future for the next 5 years. This helps inform our legislative appropriations requests, see what the needs of the agency are, and really make those informed choices going forward. So the first part of the strategic planning process is engaging with our stakeholders. So in an effort to make sure that we are covering our entire state, but also being conscious of the cost associated with an entire statewide campaign, Dr. Gola and I will be doing 2 virtual external focus group sessions. One is on this Thursday night, April 18th. Information can be found on our website and Twitter about that. And then also on May 2nd. So this will be an opportunity for the public to engage with us, ask questions of us, and also get their feedback on ways that the agency can better serve them. And so it's open to everyone. That's licensees, members of the public, and any other stakeholder that might be out there. The strategic plan is due June 1st. So we'll, in addition to these external focus groups, we'll also be doing some internal focus groups with our staff to make sure that we're getting their opinions and leveraging that information as well. So my goal is to have a version to the board by the middle of May for you all to approve and provide input on, and then we'll get it submitted ahead of that June 1st deadline. So keep an eye out for those drafts coming your way the middle of next month. And then in really exciting news, we are moving forward with our database procurement. So we are about 4 weeks into the process of developing a database. We selected essentially the one vendor that of the 2 that we got responses from. This was really the vendor that had the support and the system to meet our needs and the needs of the agency. So it's through a DIR process called the idea ticket. Basically, we submit a proposal to these contractors, letting them know kind of what our needs are, what the specifications are. A team from Deloitte in conjunction with Salesforce are basically working to custom build and create us a database. So these are 2 large multinational corporations with thousands of staff, billions of dollars in infrastructure backing them. They've built these projects for numerous other state agencies. So we're right now just working through what that initial application process is going to look like from our back-end perspective, as well as the user experience. So the goal right now is that we'll have a go live in late July, and then they will be hands off and fully turned over to us by August. So moving right along, and a lot of meetings with those folks. So, and those 2 things have kept me pretty busy, and those are my major updates. And I'm happy to take any questions from the board.
So, I'm sorry. The licensing or the database is just for licensing, right? It's not going to do compliance or enforcement or any of the stuff that is in the sunset report.
Correct. So at this time, it's this is strictly going to be a licensing system. It will have some compliance components like CE and things like that that are going to make the user experience from both our licensees' perspective as well as public lookup, as well as our back-end staff. It'll have those functionalities, but in terms of tracking enforcement investigations, compliance inspections, that's going to have to be a separate budgetary request and module that we're going to have to go in this session and ask for.
Okay, so is that gonna be, or do you suspect that will be a similar amount of money that we request? Or more money or less money? Because we're spending 1.2 million on this system, right? That only does licensing.
So this should be a significantly less amount of money that we're going to have to request this time around to get this component built out, because really the basis for that is building out the licensing system, because that's going to be what dictates, how we can track enforcement and compliance and all of those other things, because we're going to have that initial licensing chunk done. So this should be a relatively small add-on to request to get that component built out.
Okay, and then is there like a timeline? Have you had a discussion about that at all? About getting the enforcement, the compliance, the data analysis, the tracking of legal, things like that? Have you?
So because we're going to have to go back to the legislature and ask for additional money to finish out the project, it's going to be fully contingent. Our timeline is going to be contingent on receiving that funding.
Okay.
But so we're looking at right now, it's about a 4 to 5 month build out process all in for kind of the largest component of it. So I would assume that we're probably talking a significantly compressed timeframe to get this add-on built out.
Right, and they've done this before for other agencies?
Yes.
So they couldn't give you an estimated what they think from previous history of what they've done, the timeline?
I say not on this specific project. We're still kind of in the early phases of talking about that. Like I said, so we're under contract and working on the current licensing system. So we know that that's 4 to 5 months, and we're still kind of in the initial discovery phases with them for what that enforcement piece would look like.
Right, and then of course, all this money will eventually come out of increased licensing fees, correct?
Yes.
And we haven't done that yet, so we're gonna have more increase in the fees than we wouldn't normally have had, but that's just kind of the way it is. And then if we can get legislature to appropriate us more money so that we can complete the project, then do the licensing fees get adjusted or do they stay the same? What is your projection on that?
So Dr. Kreiner, because I do not have a crystal ball, so don't hold me to this, but I know. It was not on the job requirements, so that's for next time. But my feeling is right now that when we're talking about this initial fee increase, because it is intended to cover this pretty significant one-time cost of this data licensing system, that if we keep fees where they are for maybe a little bit longer, we should be able to cover this additional kind of build-out process without having to go back and ask for more money. And then hopefully after this is paid for, maybe we can also then discuss lowering the fees back down now that we're not paying for this infrastructure.
So probably 4 more years.
Probably, yeah.
All right, any other questions in regards to those topics for Ms. Sharkey? Okay, Ms. Sharkey, do we have any other reports from your division?
We do. Ms. Womack, if you'd like to give the licensing division update.
Yes, thank you. The licensing team is reporting for the second quarter of FY24, December to February. The new licenses issued, we had 85 DVM licenses issued new, 3 special licenses, 8 temporary, no new EDP licenses, and 59 LVT licenses issued new for a total of 155 new licenses issued in the second quarter. The total agency license counts as of February 29th, the end of the quarter, were 10,221 DVM regular licenses, 57 DVM special licenses, 19 DVM temporary licenses, 2,537 LVT licenses, and 63 equine dental providers, for a first quarter end total of 12,897 licenses. This concludes the licensing report. Are there any questions?
I would assume that's the all-time high.
Yes. as far as I understand. It's the highest number I've seen personally.
I was just gonna ask what the, not necessarily the numbers of people that have actually paid for the fiscal, up to this point in the fiscal year based on their birthday month, but what are our total number of licensees? I know it should be greater than 13,000.
That's the total that I have right now for all three types of licenses. If you want to email me the question, I can check again and see if there's anything I'm missing.
And I do want to take a moment to commend Ms. Womack and her team. They've actually been kind of the front line of working with our database developers and taking a lot of meetings and a lot of time out of their day, especially as they're ramping up towards the busy season of graduation, to really help make sure that the database is functional, meets all of our needs, that we've considered all of any potential issues there. And so her and her team have been a really invaluable resource and really done a lot of work to get us to a really good spot with that database system. So
Thank you. And they've done a really good job too, just jumping right in. And we've had about 6 meetings already in the last few weeks. So they're really on top of it.
thank you, Wendy. If there's no further questions for Ms. Womack, we will move on to the enforcement report from Mr. Tacker.
Good morning, everybody. At the end of March, we have received 264 complaints. The enforcement team have completed 277 case investigations, which have been forwarded over to the legal section. Currently sitting on approximately 163 open cases that are currently being investigated. We have completed 1,017 audits out in the field. So the inspections, we've done more inspections the first half of the year than we've ever done since 2016. And out of them, I believe there's somewhere around 41 complaints that have been opened. So that's where we're sitting today. Happy to answer any questions.
So Mike, that's a 4% rate of return on complaints out of investigations. Is that higher, lower, about the same historically?
That is the same historically. Since 2018, we've hovered around that 3 to 4%. So, of course, the numbers are up, but the percentage for complaint openings are remaining about the same.
And is there one or two different categories that typically, or is it across the board what those complaints involve?
So the biggest complaints we're seeing right now is we have veterinarians that have never taken the mandatory drug course that they should have had by 2020 that they have to take every 2 years. We're seeing a major deficiency in just a lack of knowledge of even knowing that they have to take the course. We continue to see major discrepancies in controlled drug record keeping. So that's probably the two biggest categories right there is controlled drugs, prescriptions, and not taking their CE course.
And you say they claim they didn't know, but yet when they have to renew their license, there is a box to check the application that says, I took the 2-hour CE, right?
So what it says is I have completed my 17 hours. It doesn't specifically say that they have taken the drug course. It just says 17 hours.
So many years ago, before we did everything via computer, everything used to be mailed. And when we get our license renewal, it comes on a postcard. Is it possible that we could send out a postcard to all the licensees of concern to inform them that it's a requirement? That way we don't have to worry about people that say things like, I don't have an internet and I do things by mail. And that way everyone will have that, and the excuse of I didn't know can be gone. And that's going back to an old topic. That's kind of what the board notes that we never started up again was good for, is informing our stakeholders that these are the things that have happened, and these are the things that we need to do, and this is what needs to happen by such and such date. Because of the 12 to 13 plus thousand licensees, there's only maybe 5,000, give or take, that are like TVMA members. And then there's a whole bunch of local VMAs, and we don't necessarily have access to who they are, but postcards are relatively inexpensive. Is that something we could do?
It's, in the new database, which is rolling out in late July, they will not be able to proceed without checking the correct boxes and uploading a picture of their CE. It will not, the system will not allow them to proceed with renewing their license. So there's no way for them to not know. It's not just checking a box separately, which they are going to, separately for the 2 hour opioid CE. They also have to upload a picture of that certificate.
Just the 2 hour CE or all of their CE?
Yeah, the 17 hours, and they have to upload, and then the 2 hours that's part of the 17 hours, they also have to upload. If it's their year, the computer will know if it's their year or not to upload. They will have to upload a picture of it, so it's not just check a box, oh, I didn't notice what I was checking. They physically have to upload a picture of it, and that'll be in late July starting. So there's no way for them to not realize at that point.
So just out of, because the AAVSB has the racetrack program, then that for us is going to be superfluous and no one's really going to need to do that, correct? I mean, what's the point of doing the national registry of your continuing education if the state is going to require you to prove your 17 hours a year?
So Racetrack is a fully optional program for people to keep track of their own CE. So if a licensee finds that a beneficial and useful program for them to use, they can, but we're not going to require its use.
Okay.
But they can use that, copy and paste it.
Exactly.
Yeah, they can download their information that they've stored.
It's a repository for any completed CE. So when it does come time to upload that, they can just very easily download the forms from their Racetrack account and then upload them as proof of CE.
Okay. And so are we going to do any, I guess I'm backtracking now that this other information is coming up. Are we doing any beta testing before we slam people for things that, you know, won't work generally the first time out of the box?
So that's the go live in July. That's the beta testing when we go live with that, and then that's when our developers enter what they call hypercare, where they are really kind of on the clock monitoring failures, issues like that, and correcting those live in real time as they arise. And they anticipate that hypercare period lasts for about 2 to 3 weeks after that go live in late July.
Okay.
Dr. Kreiner mentioned a point that we discussed several times through the years, and it just never has happened. I know some states, like Oklahoma in particular, will send out a board letterhead or a board newsletter that tells, here's the number of cases we had that were complaints about pulling teeth. Here's the number of cases we've had about this. Here's, you need to make sure you get these 2 hours of continuing education on this. And to me, it's just very, very helpful. Maybe that's because I'm so old school, but it helps me to know that, okay, I am not making my client sign enough of a pre-surgery form. Is there any chance that, I know we've talked about it and claimed we were going to try to get it restarted, but I don't know if that's ever going to happen or not. What are your views?
So it's something that I've endeavored to do, and it's a challenge with trying to, with the sheer number of complaints we have, to sort of categorize them about what we're seeing and really get that data analysis without working off of spreadsheets. So we are a little bit hampered by that.
Gotcha.
And we do have a newsletter that folks can sign up for, but it still has a very low sign up rate. It's less than 300 folks, and most of whom aren't licensees. So that's kind of the challenge we've had, is trying to find and tailor the content to the audience, because if, knowing what kind of cases we're seeing is not necessarily, if that information is not going to licensees, that's not particularly helpful to members of the public. But so we tried that with using either the TVMA magazine to get out some information about, kind of cases we were commonly seeing, and writing columns that way. So it's a little bit of trial and error just to try and get to the right audience and get the information that they're looking for. But
I understand it, in Oklahoma, a few licenses they have to worry about. we were overwhelmed with the 10,000 that we got. So, seeing that.
I was just at a meeting with the Oklahoma Executive Director, and yeah, that's just, we had some notes on comparison and scale, and it was a very, very different.
Yeah, very good. They did.
So just, sorry to backtrack one more time. In this new database, when you are trying to renew your license and you have a checkbox and it requires your 2-hour DEA, and we have a group of people, which we shouldn't have, that claim that they didn't know about it, what happens when they can't, when they're last minute people, right? It's the last couple of days, they didn't know that they needed, or they'd forgotten that they needed the DEA. You know, 2 years and 1 year look a lot alike when you're busy. And they need to upload it, and it's Friday, right? And there's no one to answer their questions on how they can, get that DEA course quickly. And yes, they should know, because I've done it twice. I'm about to do it another time, so I feel like everyone should know. But there are those out in the middle of nowhere, like Harrington.
I mean, I take mine online, and there's several universities that are doing that.
Right.
So then you can just get it instantly. And
I do too, but some people are out in the country and they have fires and tornadoes and their towns get devastated.
They were shot to fire.
Yeah. And they may not know, so I'm just looking for that little wedge, that caveat, because then they're practicing without a license on Monday morning, which they're not supposed to do.
Well, then we do have a late renewal fee, so they will have to pay, if they don't have that completed at the time of their renewal and it's the last minute, they're gonna have to have that, and so if it's not done, they pay that penalty for the late renewal.
And I'm okay with the late renewal fee. So the question is, the continuing to practice on Monday or Tuesday, where does that leave them, and do they end up getting, their hands slapped?
Well, so the penalty, the late payment penalty is the hand slap. It's 50% if it's a 50% penalty basically if they're within 30 days, and then I think it goes up to 75% after 90 days. So it's a pretty significant financial penalty to pay late, and that is the hand slap.
Okay, right. So they can continue practicing, but they're gonna
have to pay for that.
pay for it.
Yes.
I think we left out those veterinarians in Perry, extremely handsome and intelligent.
That's when the place the books.
But that's what the
Yeah. No, there's another one.
Mr. Tackert, does that complete your report, or do you have more?
It does, yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Phelps with the legal division report.
So at calculation on April 1st, we had 195 complaints. 26 were pending board IC, 68 are pending board action. 20 are board orders that are pending signature. We have 4 that are on hold pending TDLR approval. We also have 10 that are on hold pending the outcome of civil or criminal proceedings. We have 14 pending staff conference, 17 filed at SOA, 18 pending SOA filing, 2 cases pending cease and desist, and 16 pending agreed order. So after our board meeting, as well as TDLR's next commission meeting, assuming everything gets approved, we're looking at a projection of approximately 116 complaints remaining. Any questions?
Ms. Sharkey, are with those numbers, are we keeping up pace with what we're getting quarterly?
Say we are. So I think the healthy caseload at any time in legal's somewhere right in that low 100s number. Previously, when I came aboard, we were sitting at around 400 cases pending in legal. So this is, I think, kind of just the natural where things are going to sit after, we're waiting for cases to be signed sort of post IC, or we're working things through the SOA process. So this is kind of that, I think, natural healthy caseload.
So the things we've done, the infrastructure infusion that we've done, hiring a veterinarian on staff, we are making progress in catching up and now
Yes.
keeping up, correct?
Yes, we are.
I could add one thing to that. In 2018, the investigators were all carrying caseloads of 125 plus each. Today, the biggest caseload an investigator has is in the 30s. So the additional staff, the additional funding, all that is really, back in 2018, I remember not only did you have 125 plus caseloads, some of the cases that were under investigation were 3 and 4 years old. The only cases we have open now are FY 24 and FY 23. So we don't have that lengthy backlog that we had. So we have, we're walking up that mountain.
Congratulations, and let's keep up the good work. So thank you.
So one other question, sorry, it's that kind of day for me. Inspections, either I wasn't paying attention or it wasn't said, and probably I wasn't paying attention. Could you go over again how many inspections we've done and how many you anticipate completing by the end of the fiscal year, and how quickly we're going to get to that every vet in Texas gets inspected?
Sure. So our performance measures is for the year 1,600 inspections, which comes out to about 135 a month. So our monthly goals are 135. We've hit them every month. I would say here today we're going to hit that 1,600. We're going to meet our performance measure, and it's probably going to be the first time we've met it in a very, very long time. But the only reason we're able to do that is we now have the people that are out in the field, and we now have the funding to travel. Where in previous years, there was years we didn't even have any money to travel. And we looked at ways to do inspections over the phone or alternative ways, but it's hard to go count controlled drugs and look at security over the phone. It's something you almost have to do in person. But we are looking, we're going to meet our goal, and we'll do about 1,600. We are going to places, I'm getting calls weekly, like I got some guy that just walked in my clinic and said he's from the vet board. Can you verify? Because I've been practicing for 50 years and I've never been inspected before. So we're getting calls weekly like that because we are going to places in the state that nobody's never been before. So I would suspect we're going to hit that 1,600, and as long as we continue to have the people and funding, we'll meet it year after year.
So
I just want to applaud and say thank you to Mr. Tacker. I think with the state appropriation and kind of what we've been doing from a staffing perspective, we are more adequately covering the state, especially out in my neck of the woods. Having an inspector out here, I appreciate it. We're not getting left behind for the Metroplex areas.
Thank you.
So I had one more question, only because this came up a few years ago and I don't think we ever continued to address it. There was a time when investigators were told not to go to certain regions down in South Texas for safety concerns. Are we managing that? Is it changed? How's that working?
Never been aware of any such thing. From time to time, we do have complaints that involve safety and they're high risk. In those situations, we have partnered with law enforcement. We do, half of our enforcement staff is retired law enforcement. Some of them are still commissioned peace officers. But the civilian investigators, if they ever get in that situation, they walk out the door and shoot a phone call and remove themselves from any situation like that. But I'm not aware of any such orders or such threats.
Thank you.
There's no further questions for Mr. Tacker. I am going to play multiple hats for the next few minutes. I am both Mr. Jared Honrath and Ms. Candace Van Valera for today. Jared is not with us because he actually ran the Boston Marathon yesterday and is
Wow.
flying back today. So a very exciting adventure. I'm still waiting on his time so I can share that with y'all. But it was his 13th time running the Boston
Wow.
Marathon
Cool.
yesterday. So couldn't be with us today, but he and the compliance division have been keeping busy. They currently have 33 licensees that are being monitored regarding their board orders. He's monitored 497 new fingerprints that have been received for new applicants this fiscal year. And he's approving CE hardship extension requests as they come in. And those are the main highlights for the compliance division. Are there any questions or any other statistics I can review on Jared's behalf? And next up, unfortunately, Candace Van Flair, our Director of Finance, is under the weather and was not able to make it in to be with us this morning. But the high-level overview of the financials from this for this meeting are that we're about 66% of the way through our fiscal year, and we've spent 42% of the budget. What accounts for that gap and that discrepancy is that we have not started paying for the database. So that's a big chunk of that money that you'll start seeing. So that'll start catching up as we start making those payments. But because we haven't started paying that yet, that will soon catch up. But we are still on target for the rest of our financials. And the agency so far this year has generated over $1.4 million in revenue.
Brittany, do you know what percentage of the annual predicted revenue that is compared to the timeline?
I don't. I can get that information though.
Do you feel like we're on track?
We are. So the licensee population is growing year over year, and so each year that revenue number does increase, even without an increase in fees, just because of that growth in licensee population. If there are no further questions, that will conclude the director's reports for this meeting.
Hearing none, thank you, Ms. Sharkey and your team. We appreciate the in-depth details, and of course, those materials are available on the agenda. Okay, moving on to board item number 7, board committee reports. I'm going to start myself with the executive committee. I think, here we are 7.5 months into an attachment with TDLR, and I think there's always that opportunity for us to look at where we're not at. We rarely take the opportunity to look at the gains. There's a book by Dan Sullivan that's out on the shelves. If y'all walk through the airport, you'll see it's called The Gap and the Gain. And it motivated me to just think about that today, about the things that we have accomplished. And I don't need to rehash all the reports, but a lot of the things that we've been deficient on, we are making progress on. And that wouldn't happen without collaboration. And as I sit here kind of at the 30,000 foot level and I see our staff working with the TDLR staff, and it's no longer an us and them, it's a we. And I wanted to just take the time public to tell both staffs thank you. Thank you for working together. Thank you for figuring it out, so to speak, as we do. And I think we've done a good job. And to recognize that, yeah, there are gaps in front of us, but we have made significant gains, and we need to recognize that. And I want to recognize you for doing that and to say thank you, even though we've got a lot of work ahead of us. So I appreciate that very, very, very much. We are continuing to identify areas for us to look at process. And I think that's what a lot of this is about. And as an executive committee, we've talked about what are we doing now in terms of reviewing our process. And one of the things is our case review in terms of our discernment with the cases that are coming before us, especially those that are going to SOA or maybe need some mediation. And so at this meeting, we didn't bring some cases forward that we normally would have because we're looking at our process. So if you've noticed, maybe we have a lighter caseload, that's why. We'll catch up at the next meeting. But that's one of the things as an executive committee we've talked about in working with TDLR to help us redefine a process that's going to make us more efficient and to get to more appropriate outcomes, which is our goal. So that's the first item that we spent some time on. Secondly, we've talked about the software construction. I'm excited about that. We continue to monitor the progress we're making. I appreciate all the questions today. And our goal is to get there. It's going to take time, but I'm excited that we are finally addressing our number one need. And thank y'all for making that happen. I look forward to the July launch. So that's exciting. And then third, strategic planning and full process. Ms. Sharkey did relate to you guys that we're going to be having our first public comment session this Thursday evening. I invite anybody and everybody that's listening to please attend. We want to hear your comments as we figure out where we go with the future. Y'all's comments are very, very, very much appreciated and needed. And so we've got that in front of us. And with that, that concludes my executive committee report. Do I have any volunteers for any other committees that wish to give a report today? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to item number 8, and that is discussion and possible recommendation to TDLR regarding default dismissal order SOA docket number 578-23-23279, TBVME complaint number CP 22-102 regarding Tiffany Marie Johnson. I recognize Ms. Phelps on this item.
Thanks, Mr. Boland. A contested case hearing for this complaint regarding unlicensed practice of veterinary medicine by the respondent, Tiffany Johnson, was held at the State Office of Administrative Hearings on February 13th, 2024. Despite proper notice, Ms. Johnson did not appear for the hearing, and the administrative law judge issued a default dismissal order against her on February 26th, 2024. Ms. Johnson did not timely file a motion to set aside the default, and so have remanded the case back to the board on March 22nd, 2024. Based on this, we are seeking a cease and desist order against Ms. Johnson. So I urge the board to recommend to the Texas Commission of Licensing and Regulation to issue a cease and desist order to Ms. Johnson, requiring her to refrain from the practice of veterinary medicine so long as she is not a licensed veterinarian. A draft of this recommended order is contained in the board packet.
So moved.
Second.
Can we, let's just state the motion, please, is specifically what your motion is for.
Yeah. We
It's
went to issue
a cease and
a
desist.
cease and
order.
desist order against Tiffany Marie Johnson for the practice of veterinary medicine, and she's not a DVM.
So it's been moved by Dr. Skaggs and seconded by Ms. Olivier. Okay, we have a motion on this matter. Is there, in a second, is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, the motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Phelps. Okay, item number 9, discussion, recommendation, and possible action against appointment of members of LVT and EDP advisory committees. So as chair, I have the duty, as required of me in statute, of making appointments to the licensed veterinary technician and an equine dental provider committees. This is something that we need to do as the executive chair. The following people are being appointed to the LVT committee. Our very own Ms. Sue Allen, LVT, Bridget Offerman, LVT, soon to be LVT Sandra Nunn, Dr. Travis Wright, DVM, Pam Delahousie, DVM, and Keith Pardue. For the Equine Dental Provider Advisory Committee, we have Carl Mitz, EDP, Lee Vogel, EDP, and Joe Kluhar, DVM. So that concludes those appointments, and we look forward to their servicing our needs within this organization as the time arises. So any questions or comments regarding that? Okay, thank you. Okay, item number 10, consideration and possible recommendation to the Texas Commission of License and Regulation regarding approval of agreed orders. I recognize Ms. Phelps.
Thank you. So agenda item 10, the agreed orders. Are there any board members who would like to be recused from any of these cases or wish to pull any of these cases for executive session? Then with that, I would urge the board members to accept the agreed orders.
So is there a motion to recommend approval of the agreed orders in this agenda item?
I move.
Second.
Second.
Okay, it is moved by Dr. Kreiner, it is seconded by Dr. Skaggs. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 11, consideration and possible recommendation to TDLR regarding dismissal of cases from informal conferences. I recognize Ms. Phelps.
Thank you. Would any board members like to be recused from any of these cases or wish to pull any of these cases for executive session? In that case, I would urge the board members to vote on the informal conference.
Okay, is there a motion to recommend approval of the cases for dismissal on this agenda item?
Motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, item number 12, consideration and possible recommendation to TDLR regarding dismissal of cases for staff conferences. I recognize Ms. Phelps.
I've been notified, a board member would like to pull CP 23274 for executive session. Would any other members like to pull any other cases or recuse themselves from any of these cases?
We hear none. Okay, is there a motion to recommend approval of the cases for dismissal in this agenda item except for CP 23274?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Dr. Skaggs, seconded by Ms. Sue Allen. Any discussion? Okay, again, we're going to vote and all of those in this section except for CP 23274. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Item number 13, consideration and possible recommendation for the TDLR regarding dismissal of cases from medical review. Again, I recognize Ms. Phelps.
Thank you. We have two cases the board members wish to pull for executive session, CP 23069 as well as CP 23119. Are there any other cases the board members would like to pull for executive session or be recused on?
Hearing none. Okay, do I have a motion to recommend approval of the cases for dismissal in agenda item 13 except for CP 23069 and CP 23119?
Move.
Second.
It's been moved by Dr. Kreiner, second by Dr. Skaggs. All in favor? Or is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, this motion carries. Moving on pursuant to chapter 551.071 of the Texas Government Code, the meeting of the Texas Board of Veterinary Medical Examiners will now go into executive session, 10:39 a.m.
John, move it back, Don.
One. Lewis, she's been here for a while. She said,
You can do it
Found it.
for Tuesday
I
morning.
found that.
That's the date
Grade
appropriate.
and junior high girls are the most dangerous when you say let it rip. They're the ones that'll literally let it rip if you're not careful.
Mhm.
Try to outdo each other on basketball teams.
I worked with an office manager who realized that when her daughter was in junior high. She said, I thought boys were bad.
No.
Oh, no, I played field hockey in middle school. That was, those girls were vicious.
So how often are you going to New York City?
Oh, I haven't started yet. You just have your responsibility.
You need somebody to carry the load. My wife and I was glad with my daughter. I don't know, expect you to love.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, there was some amazing announcements and it seemed like everybody was volunteering.
Yeah. Yeah. I sat down.
Oh.
Yeah.
My daughter would go with any sporting team that say wherever they go. She always gets the New York City teams.
Yeah.
The King Canoe.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Those would be good.
Smart girl.
Okay, the time is 10:53 a.m. and pursuant to sections 551.071 of the Texas Government Code, the board has returned from executive session. No action was taken in executive session. And we've got some cases that we have questions on. We're going to go ahead and bring those forward for discussion. The first one being CP 23-274. Do I have a motion regarding this case?
Move to accept.
Okay,
Second.
I have a motion and second to dismiss case 23-274. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We will dismiss case CP 23-274. The next case up is CP 23-069. Do I have a motion regarding this case?
I move we transfer this motion, schedule it for an informal conference.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion that we will take case CP 23-069 and move it to informal conference. I have a second. Any discussion? Okay. Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. We will move this case forward for informal conference. And finally, case CP 23-119. Do I have a motion for this case?
Would be pulled for formal conference review.
I have a motion that we pull this for informal conference review. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to pull this for informal conference review. Is there any discussion?
This was the case,
I don't think
yeah, this was the case
it's
where,
appropriate.
this was a case where we had actually two people, cases against two
Two individuals.
And there's pending on the other individual, which appears to be the route to go, is what I was understanding.
Okay.
My reading of it.
Well, we'll have to either vote it up or vote it down. So there's discussion here that this particular case was, the individual may or may not have been culpable. So that's the decision that y'all have to make. Any other further discussion with this? Okay, so the motion before you is to move it to IC. We have two choices. We can either vote it up or vote it down. All in favor of moving it to IC, please say aye. Okay, and then all of those in favor of not moving it to IC, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries, but now we still have to, with this case, we have to decide what to do with it. We'll entertain a motion.
I move we dismiss.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we dismiss case CP 23-119. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. We will dismiss case CP 23-119. All right, we're getting to the end of our meeting today, and thank you everybody for attending. The last agenda item that we're going to discuss today are any future topics for agenda item discussion. Is there any from the board members that we should consider?
Dr. Gola, for future item, I would like discussion regarding setting a time parameter for submission of CEs to be reviewed and approved.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Allen. Any others? I have just one final thing, not necessarily for the agenda, but the dates of our future agenda. I think that's important. I made a promise when I took this chair that we would give the public plenty of future opportunity to know when our meetings were going to be held. And so these are potentially subject to change, but to give y'all some dates to put on your calendar, we have July 16th of 2024, October 22nd of 2024, and January 21st of 2025. Those will be posted on our website. If they do need to change, we will give you all ample time and notice for that to happen. But at least y'all have those circled on your calendar for future dates, and they are subject to change. Okay.
Can I request one change right
Can you
now?
repeat it real quick, Dr. Gola?
Change from July 26th to July 23rd.
It's July 16th.
Okay, whatever. July 16th to July 23rd.
July 23rd. Ms. Olivia, did you have something? I heard somebody else.
Oh, I wanted you to repeat those dates.
Okay. Is there any heartburn to the dates on July 23rd versus the 16th?
I'm unable to attend on the 23rd. I've got a board meeting the fourth Tuesday of every month.
Do you have a conflict?
I will just be getting back into town, so it'll be challenging.
Okay. Well, with that, let's just hold off and be looking forward for our dates on the website. We'll have some conversations to see how we can navigate around those. Since that's our next meeting, I don't want to have it, and more to come on that, okay? But for October, we have the 22nd, and for January, we've got the 21st, okay? Board members, any other agenda items for the future? Again, thank y'all Thank y'all for your attendance today. This meeting is adjourned.